Hi, hello, namaskara. Welcome to another episode on the Vinz Rishi show, the only show that brings you up close and personal with some of the finest self-made stars who will tell you no dream is too far, no success is too difficult to achieve. Corona times, but even situational lukura, there's been a lot of positives that is coming out. As you can see, nature is healing. ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಾಣಿ ಪಕ್ಷಿಗಳು are just taking over all of the wild paths what they had before civilization took over their natural habitat. It's so wonderful to see some wild animals and birds reclaiming what was once theirs. Flamingos in Mumbai, dolphins, there are peacocks flying everywhere. It's such a wonderful thing, Alva. So nature will always take its place back where it actually belongs. Humans ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ habitat ಎಲ್ಲ destroy ಮಾಡಿ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ನಾಶ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. But Corona times is always a positive thing for the animals. How thoughtful of anybody to actually develop a disease where it affects only the humans and not the animals, Alva. But having said that, let's dive back into the show. We are about to introduce you to one of the finest storytellers in recent times whom I've met. We've all grown up listening to a lot of stories by our grandparents. A lot of these stories which inspire us to become something in life that kind of gives us the direction in which we'll have to go out to achieve our goals. So storytelling is something that kind of is very much dwelling in all of our families. The Malagwaga, there is always this bedtime stories and stuff like that. But in today's era, the storytelling aspect is actually taking a different dimension, where although it continues to inspire, it also does tell you the realities of life struggles. So today I'm going to talk to you and introduce you to one of those finest personalities whose storytelling abilities is captivating audiences on his photo blogging page, The Faces of Bengaluru. He's one of the finest personalities I've met, and the kind of stories he's telling is absolutely wonderful. So without further much ado, we'll quickly put him back on the call. So Faces of Bengaluru, if you're listening to this, just watch out for my invites. I'll add you on. Sorry, we'll have to keep pairing with the Instagram's technicalities, so let's give it some time. Today it's like human. Faces of Bengaluru, if you've just received my request, just check if you are able to accept, or else send it again. Is Faces of Bengaluru? Yeah, okay. Let me add him. There you go. Just waiting to connect. Touch up Bekupa, Pavi. Yeah. All right, gentlemen. There he is. Namaskara.
Namaskara.
The man behind Faces of Bengaluru. Wow.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's just a...
infectious energy is getting onto the camera also. So
so that's the problem.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen, the man behind all of those inspirational, real stories of common people which is out there. He's putting the right pictures everywhere. So, Vikas, Badiger, on that note, welcome to the Vinz Rishi show. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Great. Doing great. And first of all, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm glad you kind of took some time to think about it and, put that out. Thank you so much for that.
Let's quickly dive into all of those things, what you do. You're multifaceted. You do a lot of things with so much precision and so much conviction. So firstly, let's get to that moment where this idea clicked, where it inspired you to tell the stories of people, common man in particular. How did that start?
Okay, so I think this started somewhere in 2016 when I was in Italy. I was doing my MBA, so that's where I thought I met a guy who kind of a street musician who was just sitting doing his stuff. And of course, it's not only that moment, but a lot of other aspects, a lot of series of incidents that kind of took place. I wanted to do this when I started out photography. But the most impactful moment was when I met the street musician in Florence, Italy. That's when I kind of decided to okay, this is something that I think I can do in Bangalore if and when I come back, or if I come back, or so on and so forth. So I came back and started this. I think in 2016 November is when I started it.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. I mean, we are so glad that you actually started one such initiative, because we don't know common people's stories, especially during these times, especially during the COVID-19 times. You're out there covering some documentaries of common people like the policemen and security guards. They also have families that is getting majorly affected by the ongoing scenario, Alba.
Yes. And as much as we have the privilege to stay at home and work from home, I doubt that if they can do that. And that's what they've signed up for. And it's not the amount of effort they put in, but where they put that in is what's important right now. Of course, we can work for 14 hours at our place and still be productive. But to kind of be in that, what do I say, ground zero and still putting in those many hours is, I think deserve the attention that, we should give them. So that's why I thought, okay, let me go and talk to them.
Okay. Well, one interesting aspect to your stories is some of your stories come with a little bit of social stigma attached to it. A lot of people, go with it with a preconceived notion, and they don't really have the in-depth knowledge about how a certain person's life is. But your way of telling the stories is all about telling the nitty-gritties of their daily struggles. So, which is incredible. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, first part, social stigma. So that's something that I think keeps on changing, and I think we are way beyond breaking stereotypes and all those words which we have been using since 20 years. I mean, that's what I've heard. So and so person breaking stereotypes on one occasion, but that's not the thing. I think it's those everyday fights that they kind of have to fight, and be it anyone for that matter, be it flower vendor who has to support her. The recent story that I made, flower vendor who has to support a pregnant daughter. So I think those are small wins that they kind of win, but they only get due attention when they kind of make it big. And I think the small parts make as much as an impact as the bigger ones do. So I think that's what I want to cover, and the driving force behind, the motivation behind doing what they do every single day. So that's that.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to do that.
Oh, that is fantastic. I'm glad that you are actually telling the right kind of notes in the best possible way. Just looking at the comment section, there's some interesting conversation going on. You are a Sheshadripuram represent, aren't you?
Shadis represent, yes. Very rarely you can find someone outside the, outside the acting space who kind of does something like this. So I'm guessing an exception,
Give a shout out to those boys out there. The Shadis boys are actually creating some
noise. Shadis guys, thank you so much. Thank you for recognizing that I'm from Sheshadripuram. So that's really fun. Thank you so much.
Well, nice. Let's rewind the clock a little bit. Let's try and find out. This is not something that everybody picks up. I mean, the kind of things what you're doing is not typically somebody who will wake up one day and just go into the field. So how did your family react when you first had to tell them that this is what I want to do with a camera in my hand, this is what I want to tell? How do your folks react?
So, to be honest, I think it's a mixed match. I think they were okay with me doing something that I'm good at, but again, still be secure in terms of work. So I've also worked while I was doing all this. So it was not just doing this. So of course, I mean, middle class family, and you need to take care of yourself, your parents, and so on and so forth. So I think they were pretty much indecisive about it, but they didn't really stop me from kind of doing. Of course, they still don't know the core idea of why I do this, and I'll be ready to tell them whenever they're ready to hear it. I'm not really worried about them. So yeah, it's a mixed bag. I mean, they've kind of let me do my thing and let me learn from my mistakes, and that's what they've done. And I'm glad they've done that. And but they've not really put in the efforts of being supportive out and out.
Okay.
They're like, okay, you've done this. Okay, fine. I'll have a look at it, and that's that. That's that. They don't really kind of overdo it, and which is good in a certain sense. But again, at sometimes you need that support, telling, okay, this is what you can do better. This is what you don't have to do. So yeah, it's a mixed bag. I can tell. Yeah. But,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad that it's that way.
Okay, but good to know that the people in your family are warming up to what you're actually doing. So if you can get that kind of support, I think you can go out and achieve the stars. Coming to some of your real experiences, I wanted to ask you: have you been called out for covering this section of people and telling their stories in particular?
Called out in terms of if
somebody is probably said, why are you covering this kind of people when you can go out and talk about so many others as well? So have you been particularly said that why policemen, why security guard, why people of lower income class, or why florists, or something like that?
Yeah, but again, a lot of them have that question because I might not have covered someone who they wanted to. I think that's maybe the presumption to why they asked that question. But for me, I think these guys are equally important to what we do. And if you see that right now, you would know that they're actually equally or even more important to the smooth running of our lives in any part of the world.
Correct.
And I think they don't get the importance that they kind of deserve. So I've been called out, but again, in terms of having opinions, I think everyone can have their own opinion, but can't really keep up to everyone's opinions, right? So I just have to tell them, yeah, that's that, boss. I can't really keep up with you being. I can't keep everyone happy that way. So that's that.
Cool. There's one project which, while I was doing research about your profile, I kind of figured that you've mentioned very strongly about the Arvani project, about the transgender community in particular.
Yes.
Tell us about your experience, because they are one particular community which is commonly misjudged or misread completely, right? You threw a lot of light about how their lifestyle is, and tell us more about the Arvani project.
So Arvani project, again, I have a few friends who are into art and who follow them, and when I came across them, I thought to kind of actually move, break out of that stigma of the societal norms of what transgender should be doing in the society.
Correct.
And of course, I cannot be vocal about or vouch for what they feel, because how a trans person feels, transgender feels, they have to tell them themselves. We can't vouch for them. We can't represent them. And the whole point was to bring that perspective. Because a lot of times, a story is written, a journalist writes a story based on his perspective of, let's say, he's a straight man or a straight woman or a bisexual. But they'll have their own presumptions to it. But when they themselves are telling those words, and that's what we put in there, I felt that that's what's needed for people to read it, their perspective, which is often misunderstood, misread, with various reasons. I mean, and that's one reason why I thought let me do it. And shout out to Aravani Art Project. Thank you so much for doing that. Very rarely, I just messaged them and they were like, okay, come so and so day, you can do that. We have a few people who would be happy to share their stories. So that's pretty much it. So thanks to Aravani Art Project to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that has been brilliantly covered. In fact, so sensibly written, and the sensitivity of the whole issue has been very well covered.
Yes.
So
Yes.
kudos to your storytelling ability on that. We'll pick up a question from the crowd just to,
Sure.
there's somebody from Aravani Art Project, Shanti Muniswamy. Hi, I'm Shanti from Aravani, and thanks a lot for covering our story.
Thank you so much, Shanti ಅವರೇ. ನಿಮ್ಮಿಂದಾನೇ ನೀವು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದು ತುಂಬಾ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ನಾನು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎವ್ರಿ ಟೈಮ್ ವೆನ್ ನನ್ಗೊಂದೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಬಂದಾಗ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಟಫೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಅರೌಂಡ್ ಆರ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಂತೀನಿ. ಅಂಡ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಲವ್ಲಿಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ that project itself, because the 4 stories that I heard actually gave a huge perspective on how to be much more less stereotyping and how do I say that, less rude to people of different genders, people of different sexuality. So I think that really helped me a lot as well. Yes.
At the end of it all, we're all humans. No matter who we are, what we are, orientations are, we're all humans at the end of it all. Fantastic. So I'm going to ask you another question, which is more of a derivative from someone's question on the chat.
Sure.
So now, what are your prep works like? How do you primarily decide? Okay, this is the kind of questions I need to ask to a particular guest, or they need to be on my guest list, or this is what I need to do in order to prepare to cover their story. So, what will your prep work be before an interview or any photo blogging?
So to be honest, it's a mixed bag, because sometimes I actually ping them and ask them if they're available online. So initially I started out with talking to people who have made a difference, right? Let's say if it's Vijay Nishant, who's as far as I know, the only tree doctor in India. So I think to reach out to such people, you kind of have to give a background of what you do. So I kind of shared whatever stories I had before, and I spoke to him, so on and so forth, and then kind of understood, tried to understand their constant motivation to continue doing what they do. Right, that's something that very few people have. You kind of lose that once you realize that okay, there's no market here. There's no ways to kind of move forward, but to still stick to it, to understand when is the break even for a few ideas. Let's say if I can tell it in layman terms, I can say easily a Chennai Express was an amazing hit, was an instant hit, a commercially acclaimed film. But Madras Cafe has become a cult.
Okay.
People still watch Madras Cafe because of the kind of content that it made.
Yes.
So I think that's the difference between what's going to go a hit instantly, but what's going to become a cult. So I think such people really have guts to kind of stick to their ideas, stick to what they want to do, and know their game. That sets them apart from a lot of other people who just want to, kind of, okay, if this isn't the market, I'll kind of move. So I think that's what sets them apart. So those kind of questions, these are the kind of questions that I tend to ask them. What keeps them going. And to approach, let me think. I kind of keep it a mixed bag. I sometimes okay. I think you went. All right. All right. Okay. So I keep it a mixed bag. Interviewing a cricketer, a women cricketer. Let's say a person who travelled, who walked from Bangalore to the United States, walked being, of course, shipped as well to the United States to talk about nuclear disarmament. So he was a writer. I mean, he's a writer. So talking to him, so just trying to talk to people on their idea of why they have the motivation of doing interesting things. So I think it started out with that, and of course, right now, I thought the frontline workers, the people who are in ground zero, deserve the attention that they, that we aren't giving them. That's when I kind of moved to kind of meeting these people. So, yeah, that.
Okay, wonderful to hear that you do so much groundwork before you actually go out there and produce the right content. What I was researching about how things work for Faces of Bengaluru, I also found out that one of the pioneering projects on these lines is Humans of New York.
Yes.
There's one individual who actually took photo blogging to another level, while he also, stood his ground in covering the common man story. I mean, it's all about their real struggle. So how much of Faces of Bengaluru is being influenced by that kind of storyline?
Okay. So again, Brandon Stanton is the name who kind of started Humans of New York.
Correct.
So in terms of, let's say, photography, not really, but in terms of what we do in similar lines, it's very similar. It's, of course, I mean, there's a lot of resonation with the, but again, I think that's how you call a competitor. Of course, I'm no competitor to him, but we're in the same grounds of storytelling. So I cannot call myself a storyteller yet, because I'm still consider myself more of a photographer than a storyteller. So but I think for them it's more to do with intimate conversations. Which is, of course, much easier in New York. People are much more open to something like that.
Correct.
And of course, back then, not even now. It was started around 9 years, if I'm not wrong. So back then itself, they were much more open to it. It's kind of a mixed bag here in Bangalore. A few people are okay, a few people aren't. I've been called in Dadi Dia, Wogache, and all that stuff. So, yeah.
So you've also faced
of course.
So much of difficulty.
Yeah, I mean, it's common and it's fine. It's not like if you're doing something like this, it's going to happen. It's bound to happen.
It's bound.
Not everyone's okay to kind of up to a stranger. Right? So,
correct.
So yeah, there are similarities, but again, I think the way forward, I'm sure he's still sticking to photo stories, which he's doing brilliantly. So I'm still not sure what is ahead of me. I'm still pretty young in those terms.
Okay.
And on age as well as experience. So
But you're in the right direction, though.
Yeah,
you're
hoping so. Yes.
Okay. So Aravind Ravi has actually asked you a question. Are you planning to cover some common known faces from Bangalore in the future? I mean, the popular ones. Just asking out of curiosity. If yes or no, why? Reason, it could inspire a lot of us if you share their not so commonly known stories.
Okay. So Arvind knows me back from college as well. So he was my junior.
Oh, another Shadies connect.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So I think again, storytelling we've romanticized it, and we've kind of made everyone become a storyteller. Everyone calls themselves a storyteller. So a lot of the people who are common or pretty famous, their stories have already been told by some or the other place, and we right now are not as huge as what we feel we're supposed to be.
Okay.
So maybe that's what's holding me back. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to, of course. I mean, who wouldn't want to interview Rahul Dravid? Who wouldn't want to interview Anil Kumble? Or who wouldn't want to interview someone like Nandan Nilekani or Narayan Murthy, or so on and so forth. But again, I think to come back to reality, I know that's an aspiration, but because of that aspiration, I don't want to forget the people who are within my reach, right? I don't want to waste time on kind of just thinking of that and not work on things that I hear. So yeah, that's an aspiration. But again, I would want to work with people who are right now, within my reach to kind of interview them. Yeah. Yeah, of course, Dravid, man. I know that Dravid is.
Yeah, I was the word to say it. We're all Dravid. We're old school boys, aren't we?
Yeah, 100%.
The classical style of cricket.
Yes.
We haven't been consumed by the T20 bugs.
Yes, not yet.
Okay. My next question is about another individual who is making waves in the Kannada film industry.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've covered Vaidoria Lokesh.
Yes.
Her story from having that inferiority complex about the way she looks. A lot of people, a lot of common people have that self-doubt about themselves, of the way they look, the appearance matters a lot. So she has battled those, feelings, and then she's gone on to become one of those finest, artists who support celebrities. And she's gone on to work with some lovely celebrities all throughout.
Yes.
Your experience on covering her story?
So initially, I was nervous because when I kind of knew, when I heard Vaidoria Lokesh's name, I think it was pretty long before I interviewed her. So I've kind of heard it from a few, foodie friends and other friends. But again, when I decided to message her, I had to kind of see how I spoke to her, because I don't know how to talk, right, on what level, where is the line, and where I would have to kind of be, okay, this is how I have to speak. But once I started interviewing her, I really felt I resonated a lot with that story, and also resonated in sense of me personally, and a lot of my friends as well, who I'm in touch with on messages, and I meet them for years now. And I realized that I think it's the work ethic that gets them there. But we're still fighting battles, which is very common to a lot of people. I think it's the work ethic that gets them there, and we feel that, okay, they're much different. But I feel everyone fights similar battles, but again, beyond that, coming to a stage where she's one of the best MUAs in the industry was amazing. And kudos and thank you, Vaidoria, for kind of talking about it, and I'm glad that you did. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that even I faced, the color and how we appear to people. I don't know how that matters, because what matters is what you have in your heart. I mean, if your intentions are clean, if you're of somebody who's got a very strong skill set, you're able to survive it. It shouldn't matter how you appear, right?
Yeah, so that is a pointer. So sorry to cut you off. I think casual racism has been normalized. We've seen that, and of course, I mean, you're a cricketer. You've gone through your college days, in your class, in your school. I think that's been normalized, and the kind of polishness that we have to get to a stage where the casual racism goes. That's when I think we'll be much better humans. So, and that's what is really important. I'm sure it's a very common thing for a lot of people who's watching this and who
correct, very true. Very, very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Good you actually stress on that point, because that is becoming a norm, and that should not be the norm, I guess, in our society. Okay, so we've spoken a lot serious stories so far.
Yes.
Now let's try and talk a little bit about the cute aspects of the story coverage, what you've done. How romantic are you, Vikas? How romantic are you at heart?
I think 20 to 30%, 20 to 30%, depending on the kind of music that goes in, depending on the kind of mood I'm in. Yeah, it ranges from minus to 30%.
Oh, you go to minus
between that.
also?
Yeah.
Okay. No, the reason why I asked that is because I noticed one story where you actually covered about two elderly couple.
Yeah.
And their cute little love story revolving around how difficult it was to try and get in touch with each other, with careers being on parallel lines and the difficulties. Oh, that was beautifully written. So tell us more about it. I'm sure that is going to inspire quite a few people out there.
100%. There's someone of my, somewhere around 3 or 2 kilometers radius from my place.
Okay.
I've kind of seen them walking around in the parks and holding hands and walking, and I see that very rarely, at least in my area, of course, because it's much more old Bangalore. So I see that very rarely. So of course, my parents and a few of my family members knew them. So. That's when I kind of decided, okay, let me talk to them and understand how they kind of still give each other the priority and understand them on a level where, okay, this is my partner, and I think this is the priority I give to that person. And I realized that it's not the love that they have for the partner, but I think it's because that partner has been there for them during tough times is what makes them stronger, is what I feel. It's more to do with companionship than love. So I think those are two different things. And I see that people are
everybody actually. Firstly, they don't agree on the percentage you gave to yourself. Secondly, they're all a little surprised at how you branded yourself in terms of the romantic scale.
No, that's true itself. So I'm sure. A lot of my friends would agree as well. So yeah.
A lot of people are very aware of what you do, even during Sundays. You apparently blast a lot of romantic music on Sundays.
But that's the day when I get to kind of do something or the other. So I think that's the day. Yeah. That's why I said it's a bare minimum.
After this episode, you still would be contacted and then asked that percentage what you gave yourself is absolutely wrong, and you're a lot more romantic than what you just gave to yourself.
To what I see, to what I am, I can see the difference. So that's where I kind of...
They don't seem to agree on that.
100%. I think they don't... someone who blasts Tondre Illa Pankaja. So that's a song that I kind of sing to myself. So yeah, that's...
Okay.
Yeah.
So you may have to share your romantic playlist as well.
100%.
Okay. The Faces of Bengaluru is now garnered a lot of attention because the intentions are pure and a lot of people connect with it. So with a lot of portals and newspapers covering your take on Common Man's story, how did you feel to actually get that kind of attention? Because in short time, Faces of Bengaluru really became the page to look forward to know about common people.
In India, I think more often than not, documentary photography or such kind of photography has not really been a norm, at least in South India, for that matter. And I'm glad that people are accepting something like this because you see lights, you see amazing portraits going out, and I really rarely thought people would still, come and see a photograph which is taken on streets and people talking about it on natural light and stuff like that. And I've not till late used flash as an equipment to kind of shoot a person, because I feel that it's much more natural when they're talking, when they're actually having a conversation with me, or me asking a question to them. That's when I think their true emotion comes out. So yeah, that's that. Yes.
Fantastic. I hope you go not many more places with this one. Can you tell the Aigiri Nandini story, because everybody's mentioning that bit? What is the story behind?
Okay, so I hadn't really heard hip hop that much before I get in Nandini, because of the Sanskrit rap involved in it. I was someone who was forced to study Sanskrit in my high school days and college days. So the rap in Aigiri Nandini by Brother V is from Saundarya Lahari. So I mean that kind of that's a really good vibe that I feel I could get in my room for me to work and chill. I think that's the kind of music that make me work or keep me calm. So yeah, I mean I think somewhere last year I'd posted that that was the most heard song in my playlist. So yeah, so that's the reason why a lot of people. Yeah, that's the reason a lot of people have.
You're quite the open book then.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, you're a cricketer. I'm a cricketer.
Yeah,
so
yes.
There is one story which got me totally connected with, especially the last 90 with Sunil Joshi.
Yes.
India international cricketer, and he talking about the domestic scene, how competitive it got, and also those last 90 minutes, how things turned.
Yes.
Your experience on working with Sunil Joshi on that story.
Yeah, so this wasn't something that I thought of. I have to give due credits to Srisha as well. He's a coach friend of mine. He's an ICC level 2 coach from Bangalore. So and he works with multiple coaches. So he spoke about this 1999 Karnataka Ranji win that is going to come up. This was last year. The 20th anniversary, if I'm not wrong. That was going to come up. So he thought it was great to do a story around how in the last 15 overs the whole of the match turned around. And how when I think Vijay Bharadwaj says that Chandrakant Pandit, the captain of UP, actually faints when they lose that. To have to run that kind of emotions in a Ranji match, I felt that it was long due that such kind of emotions actually ran, and I wanted to kind of show that. I wanted to understand what changed, what made them win, and the events leading to that final day. So to be honest, I think more than the last 15 hours, I thought what I felt was their dedication to understand Bangalore pitches back then. In the middle, I think somewhere around 6 minutes, Sunil Joshi talks about how they were ready. Him, Dr. Ganesh, and Vijay Bharadwaj were ready to get a mechanic and another 2 mechanics to repair the super stopper because they knew it was going to rain the next morning. So them talking about it to each other and them doing that by themselves without even kind of someone else intimating that to them. I think that spoke a lot of the dedication that they brought into even domestic circuit back then. So yeah, I think that's something that I felt was pretty amazing, and to kind of sit and talk to such people and interview them like at this capacity. All I can do is feel that they're just another person and continue talking and be overwhelmed outside because I can't do that while I'm interviewing them. So that's how I kind of managed to do that. Yes.
It's wonderful to know how much winning meant to these people because they didn't have any modern facilities like what we have now, but to really look at the kind of dedication and the determination what they possess and the emotions on Sunil Joshi's face as well while talking about that narrative was fantastic.
That's
true. Thanks to you for bringing that story out to us. Otherwise, we certainly wouldn't have known this super information. Okay, because you're a human being yourself. I mean, you are very young, and for you to go out there and cover some intense stories, somewhere it has got to impact you as well as an individual, right? I mean, has there been days where you've come back home being very overwhelmed with emotions, like, oh my God, what am I doing to myself? Has there been one such feeling?
Multiple times. Those are days when I've actually not able to meet a person. So those are not days when I kind of interview them. I think this is how I see it. I see parts of myself, and a lot of people would as well, in stories of a lot of people who I've spoken to, be it a middle class person story in someone who's middle class and who's done something amazing, be it a cricketer story in the cricketer who's done something amazing. So on and so forth. But again, what am I doing to myself? Not really. Maybe when I cover around 50,000 people across Bangalore, maybe then when that's when I'll be exhausted. But till then, I do not think I'll be feeling that to myself. Yeah, so that's that.
Also, you're surrounded by some wonderful people around you anyway, so they will always be supporting you emotionally.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a shout out to to a lot of people actually. The Gritty Glasses 6 foot shots. You as well, Shirish, Murli, Abhijit Simhan, because not many people were like, Madu maga neenu, Madu tale keskombada, Madu, and these people kind of kept me going, and I think such people are really important in your life, and you have to kind of make sure you are honest with them in terms of your work. So that's something that I feel I'm glad I have. So
nice to know that you have some good people around you. Okay, so now you are venturing into new territory now. You've got something called as an Incognito project. Project Incognito, if I'm right.
Yes,
so that already, the promos are really making waves, and I kind of saw the promo and I was like totally taken aback. Wow, this seems to be an exciting venture. So tell us more about that one.
Yeah, so again, I always tend to do stuff which I've thought of 2 years ago. That's always been the case because of multiple reasons. Because I don't have resources, because I don't have the time, or whatever, the mental space to do it, whatever the reason. But this was something that I thought of 2 years ago to kind of interview people and on camera and to bring out their emotions, for them to, of course, photos does give you a perspective, but I think looking at a person while they're talking about themselves and about something that they love or something that they've hated. Sorry, my English again. So I think that's something that I feel was important, and after 2 years of deciding to do that, it's now started it. So Project Incognitus, again, I think a lot of people have to assess on the word incognitus, so it'll be something different. I'm not sure if people have done it before or people have not seen that, so they might have, but this is something that I've wanted to do. So let's see. I'll also, people are watching this, and Vinay, I'll be releasing that today at probably 8:30. So anyone who wants to watch it, I'll probably drop the link down to their DMs, and yeah.
That sounds exciting, and more power to you on that one. That certainly sounds like a fabulous project. So let's put you on the spot. We've already spoken a lot of serious stuff, so let's try and put some rapid fire questions to you. So are you ready?
100%.
Okay. So you got to name this one, okay? One story which you covered, you loved the most, or you were like a little too bored with that? One story.
So again, boring, I don't think so. There has been any story that has been boring. But one which I loved was definitely Dr. Nasomeshwara Thatantayili. Because of the kind of Dr. Nasomeshwara Thatantayili. Because of the kind of intensity he brought to the knowledge he brought to a lot of audience through television, through Thatantayili. I think I tried multiple times to reach out to him. Finally, a friend of mine, Shivani, her dad, and Dr. Nasomeshwara were friends, so I kind of got that. So I was lucky again to have gotten that, and I think that's one story that I will remember. And such stories. I mean, the way he started out to kind of listen to quizzes, listen to broadcast, to radio, and to kind of go through that dedication of wanting to do this, even without being paid for a certain amount of years, is huge. And to have, I mean, I kind of resonated with him having two jobs multiple years. So, for him to do that for almost 16 years now, it was a lot of support, dedication. It's been, again, dedication has been made by.
Oh, I kind of lost you. Oh, yeah.
This was the right dedication. Yeah, so I think this was the right dedication. That he did. Yeah, that's that.
Okay, so Thatantayili has got a lot of fans. Murli, you're a 70s kid, so I'm sure you know that story. Okay, so cricketer, photographer, and quizmaster. List the three in terms of which ones do you love the most?
I will list them in terms of when I learned them. So, of course,
love the most.
Yeah, love the most. Again, because I love the most. That's what I started earlier. Because I didn't know quizzing and photography later. Cricket start first. I mean,
cricket,
nothing beats cricket, and then quizzing gave me confidence from being a very shy introvert to actually go and host a quiz in amidst 200 students, 250 students. So I think quizzing, I think both of them prepped me in different ways to kind of get into photography and FOB. So I think I would say cricket, quizzing, and then photography. I think that's how I would.
Shirish, your question is already answered. So cricketer first, everything else at a later time is what he's saying.
Yes.
Okay, so while we're at cricket, so your next question.
Again, sorry, I think there's
energy. That's why now. That's the best part about Instagram Live. We can always create these oops moments, and we can always say that these are the bloopers. Okay, the next question is: name the batsman who hit you for 2 consecutive reverse sweeps.
Okay.
At the Indian Air Force grounds.
Okay.
2008.
Reverse sweeps. I think that's you, if I'm not wrong. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's me.
That's what. So I was pretty young, of course, and back then, if you had known me, like in terms of how you know me,
Yes,
you know
yes.
that
We
I
played a
was
lot of
much more,
cricket together.
I was much more aggressive, much more outgoing in terms of showing my emotions. Yeah, so yeah, I mean that was
The only reason I had to reverse sweep is because you were spinning the ball a lot. So I knew for a fact that was not going to hit the stump. So that's why it was a safer option for me to reverse it.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that because
That day was good.
yeah, 100%. I remember that because again, a lot of others who were part of your team were really like, okay, this kid. So for me, it was like, okay, kid. So who are they calling a kid? So of course back then, of course,
You
it
had to
was
prove.
much
You're right.
different. Yeah. So, but again, it was fun. This one. But yeah, I think a lot of teams that I played for made me a bowler than a batsman. So yeah,
No, I've always enjoyed my cricketing memories with you. We've
Yeah.
played quite a few with and against each other.
against as well. Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, next question. So we have gritty glasses here. Your views about Slangaluru and gritty glasses, creating trends these days.
So I mean, that's I think a creative part which I never knew existed in Gritty Glasses. So Gritty Glasses and I go way back. We studied LKG, UKG till 4th grade together, and then of course I had to move to another school, and we never really spoke. So yeah, I think that was. I mean, when she started doodling stuff, I told her, please continue doing it. It's something that you're amazing at. Once this ends, I'll show you a couple of paintings and doodles that she's given to me with two of my favorite, television characters.
Correct.
So yeah, and Slangaluru again. Aikyata, not Ikyata. If you're watching this, it's Aikyata. I still remember. So I think that's the kind. I think a lot of the slangs we kind of overlook on our daily life, and to kind of make that mainstream, to make that bring it back, because we've now started conversing in English, and we've kind of lost the touch of using our Kannada slang. Though she's not a Kannadiga, just to let you know. So for her to kind of have the knowledge, that's not what she speaks, though she considers herself as a Kannadiga, but that's not what she speaks at home. So for her to have the knowledge and do the research on so many stuff was brilliant, and I'm glad to have kind of known both of them. Pretty Glasses through school, and of course I keep through social media. Yeah.
Well, Gritty Glasses, thank you so much. We love the art you present out there, especially that Nale Ba thing was absolute riot. It was fantastic. It was. So keep going. More power to you, Gritty Glasses. Okay, so Sachin Tendulkar or Ricky Ponting, the best puller in cricket?
I would say Ricky Ponting. I know a lot of people would disagree to it. A lot of Indian fans.
I agree.
But yeah, so I think when you talk about best, we would always want to rate the one who's done better than someone whom we love, right? So I think that's Ricky Ponting.
Do you know your Facebook page rating at the moment?
I have no idea. I haven't even checked my Facebook page ratings or likes since quite some time, because I didn't really, get intrigued by it. So I've never really checked. I'm not sure. I think it'll be somewhere around 4.2-ish.
You are 4.9 out of 5.
I've not checked that out, but thank you so much.
That is how brilliant your page is. That's how much people love your page. There's some user experiences or user reviews on the page is brilliant. You should check it out when you have time.
Thank you so much. I have to then go back now.
Okay, the next question, you only have one chance to answer, and this is really going to put you on a spot.
Okay.
You are also the man behind Vandu Masale, correct?
Yeah.
Now you have to tell me the prices of masala dosa in the following restaurants.
Okay.
CTR Malleshwaram.
45 rupees.
Wow.
45, 47, yeah.
45. That is
Okay.
good. I give it to you. MTR. Across Bengaluru. MTR.
60 rupees? I think 60, 65, that's what. They're more expensive, I mean.
That's wrong. Okay.
Okay.
Vidyarthi Bhavan.
Again, 50 rupees, if I'm not wrong.
Okay. Only CTR you got it right. MTR
Yeah.
is 80 bucks.
Oh, damn, okay. Good.
Okay. MTR is 80 bucks. Vidyarthi
Yeah.
Bhavan is 46 bucks.
Okay,
Yeah.
just one bump, okay. All right.
Yeah.
But actually, when you go and eat dosa, you kind of don't look at money. So I know CTR because I was going to order that today. So that's why I know CTR.
Oh, wonderful.
So
Good.
yeah.
Okay, Vikas, Badiger, Faces of
Yes.
Bengaluru. We have now come to the end of our show.
Thank you so much.
I had tremendous pleasure in bringing you out in the open and telling your take on the whole of Faces of Bengaluru initiative. You're going brilliant. You're going great guns. Keep inspiring us. Keep motivating us. Your few words to everybody who's watching out here and also people who would watch you later on the recorded version.
Okay. First of all, thank you to Vinay. I've seen him from being a cricketer to play some professional games and to host, to MC now, host of a show. I've seen a lot of his sides. From being injured to him coming back was something that has still inspired me, to do that and to keep working as well with that. It's a pretty tough thing to lead an MNC's cricket team that well, to take them to RCB's corporate challenge. So I've seen multiple stuff that you've done. So thank you so much that you kind of understood that. The kind of storytelling that I do is really important to the society. What I'd tell is not necessarily something inspiring, but I think as much as you read news, listen to music, click pictures, also read stories, not just by me, but I think by a lot of people who kind of deserve the attention that they need. I think that keeps us all in perspective of what's happening, gives us a lot of reasons to be much more humane, and I hope it changes your life, because it has changed mine. So I think that's what I wanted to tell.
All right. Thank you so much, Vikas, for all of you who's joined in. July 16th, 2016, that picture of me on Indian Express whacking the ball like crazy was clicked by Vikas Badiger.
Yes.
So thank you so much for those memories. It's been wonderful bringing your story out to everybody else. We are glad to have your support to the Vinz Rishi show. Hope you have a fabulous weekend.
Thank you so much.
We'll catch up with you soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye. Cheers. Bye.
See you.
Okay, so that was Vikas Badiger from the Faces of Bengaluru. Wow, what an individual he is. So much to learn from the man himself who's going out there. He's very young. He's very, very young. But despite all that, what he's doing, he's going out there and bringing the best version of Common Man's story. You should check out his page on Facebook and Instagram as well. And do support the Vinz Rishi show as well, because we will try and bring you a lot of these kind of personalities who will inspire you, motivate you. And to everybody out there, enjoy your Sunday for the rest of the time. Do take care. We'll catch up with you next week. We have special guests lined up for next week. We'll catch up with you next week. Take care. Bye-bye. This is the Vinz Rishi show. Bye.